Is your diet in your kitchen setting you up for a lower toxic life? Now, there are two primary areas of the kitchen where toxins lurk. One is in our food, and one is in our food storage and cooking utensils. I'm Jackie Elmer, lowertoxiclife.com. Now, the two biggest culprits of toxins in our food are ultra-processed foods, and I'll get into those a little bit in this video, and plastics. Now, as far as food and food storage and all of that, I'm an 80-20 rule person. I'm not a purist, I'm not perfect, and it doesn't mean that I eat clean and live clean all of the time. Certainly, like anyone, I like to have fun. Occasionally, I throw caution to the wind. And so the biggest thing I want to tell you is this is not meant to overwhelm you. A confused mind always says no. And so what we're going to do is go through some basics, and I'm going to give you some very simple hacks that you can start using today to lower the toxins in your kitchen and food. And make sure you grab my guide at lowertoxiclife.com for my food staples shopping list. Another really important thing to keep in mind is that you are personal. You're unique. You're an individual just like I am. And what works for me or what worked for your sister or your cousin or your brother may not work for you. I believe in bio-individuality and I believe in body hacking. And what that means is you take a concept, you take a principle, whether it's a type of food, a diet theory, whatever it is, and you test it and try it on yourself and then make your decisions. Don't rely on headlines or what this expert said or this scientific study said or any of that. Now, I'm not a doctor. I am not a dietitian. I am a certified health coach. And what I'm going to be sharing with you are those simple hacks that I've used and sharing my results. And then it's up to you to determine if those will work for you. Now, starting with our diet, the first thing we really want to concentrate on is whole foods. Whole foods are those things that are grown in a plant versus made in a plant. So I love to talk about what I call slow carbs. Slow carbs are those carbohydrates, which I feel like get a bad rap, but slow carbs are those carbohydrates that fuel your body, feed it good nutrients, and process much more slowly in our body than fast carbs, which are things like processed grains, bread, gluten, a lot of those type things. And I also really love to focus on farming that's regenerative, and we'll talk more about that in a future video. Now, I'm also a fan of healthy, lean proteins. Healthy meaning I mentioned regenerative farming. I like not factory farmed animals, and I'll talk more about animal protein versus other sources in future videos. And no diet would be complete without those healthy fats. Olives are one of my favorite foods. I use avocado and extra virgin olive oil almost exclusively. Coconut, avocados, and certain seeds and nuts also fall into those healthy fat categories. So you hear a lot about macronutrients, and I'll cover that in the future, but that's getting that split of healthy fats, lean healthy proteins, and slow carbs. And there's a different formula for everyone. It depends on your age, your gender. Are you still having a period and a cycle for women? A lot of different things factor into that. Now, there are a few foods that I seek to avoid all the time. The first for me is high fructose corn syrup. I can feel it in my body when I've had it. I can feel it in my joints, inflammation, I'm stiff, it feels sore. I feel it in my brain with brain fog. So high fructose corn syrup is a food that I avoid as much as possible. Gluten, I'm not celiac, but I prefer gluten-free, and I avoid most gluten-free products that are labeled that way, and I'll cover that in a future video as well. But I avoid high fructose corn syrup, I avoid gluten, certain types of dairy, certainly ultra-processed foods, seed oils, including canola, sunflower, vegetable type oils. A lot of that has to do with the high heat level that they're processed at and the toxins that in and of itself creates. And then I also avoid anything with natural flavorings and food colors and dyes. Now again, I'm an 80-20 rule girl, So there's going to be certain times when the foods that I consume, whether I'm at a party, at a friend's house, at a restaurant, I do the best that I can, and I stick to the 80-20 rule as much as possible. I also like to follow the rule of 5 ingredients when I shop the store. 5 or less ingredients in a processed food, something that's known to me, whatever that ingredient is, a name that I can pronounce that's not this long and sounds very scientific, and it's something I could buy in the store and add into whatever it is and make it homemade. I try to buy organic as much as possible, and I recommend that you do the same and factor in certainly where you live, what's available, and certainly budget constraints. Now, keep in mind that eating healthy doesn't have to mean eating complicated. I like to keep my meals very, very simple. An example of that might be wild-caught salmon with a little bit of steamed broccoli and an avocado. Now I've gotten a great mix of healthy protein, healthy fat, and a slow carb. And it's very simple to make that and doesn't take a lot of brain work. And I can literally, in most cases, whip that up in 20 to 25 minutes. I also like to incorporate ground turkey. I use a pasture-raised ground turkey. From that, I can make sausage. I can make pastas. I can do all different types of things with these very simple ingredients. So an example, I might saute up some ground turkey with some onions and garlic, add in a can of diced tomatoes, fresh tomatoes if you have them and have access to them, and then cook that in olive oil and make a very simple kind of base, a tomato base, and then you can serve that over pasta. And what I like to do for my pasta, a lot of times I simply will cut up a red pepper, a green pepper, and some zucchini. I'll saute that in a pan, and I use that instead of pasta. Now for breakfast, a couple of eggs scrambled over easy, however you like your eggs, with a little bit of that turkey sausage that you've made or ground turkey, sauteed even together. You can make it a scramble, throw some red pepper and some avocado over the top of it, and you've got a great, simple, easy, fast breakfast. And then for lunch, I'm a big fan of leftovers and packing your lunch as much as possible so that you can eat healthier and know exactly what it is that you're getting in your lunch. Now, again, the 80-20 rule, if lunch happens to be the one that you need to eat out, go for it. The biggest thing is become aware of your food choices. Become very aware as you shop in the grocery store, reading the labels of what you buy, and plan and prep for your meals ahead of time. Get your kids involved. So often we think that we don't have time, and we neglect the fact that we've got little bodies there that love to help. Teach them from a young age, as young as you feel is appropriate, how to use a knife. And we'll do some kids classes in this video series. Teach them how to do simple things like that. Teach them how to shred lettuce. Get them involved in the cooking activity. Make it a family event. And you will find that it's much easier then to feed your kids well and get them involved in eating healthier by choice because they're involved in the process. Habits are what make or break us. So as we become aware of our habits and we start making those simple shifts, everything is going to change. Now, before we talk about food storage, cooking utensils, and all of that, have you subscribed to the channel? Make sure that you do that so that you're alerted to all of the future upcoming videos and you stay tuned in with all of these simple hacks to detox your life. And make sure you get my simple guide that it contains all of this good information, including the shopping list, reading labels, coconut oil use, do-it-yourself products, and a lot of that. Just go to lowertoxiclife.com. Okay, and if you have any simple tips you want to share, please drop them in the comments below so that we can have some conversation about it. Okay, now let's talk about the cookware in your kitchen. And I know one of the hardest things to give up is these non-stick Teflon type pans and skillets and all of that. Believe me, I get it. It makes life so much easier. But this is what I like to call a fatal convenience, because Teflon is highly toxic and a little bit of it leaches into your food on a regular basis. So what I've learned to replace that with is Le Creuset. I think I'm saying that right. You can tell this pan is 20 years old. I brought it back from Paris on one of my first trips, but I still use it and it's well seasoned. Costco sells a great grouping of these same type pans, these cast iron that are ceramic coated, that aren't going to leach chemicals into your food. There's also the, I'm trying to think, it's the green pan. I'm not such a huge fan of these. And they've had a little bit of controversy, and part of it is because ultimately if you don't use the right utensils, it will chip, but this is still better than Teflon. And then, of course, your old traditional cast iron skillet and anything that's just stainless steel. You cannot go wrong with any of this equipment. I'm also a fan of a collection of bamboo cutting boards versus plastic. And then let's just talk about some simple hacks for replacing your plastic storage with glass. Again, this is something that doesn't need to be overwhelming or super expensive. Start slowly. Just set a goal to add 1 or 2 new pieces a week, a month, whatever fits into your budget. Costco sells these for very low cost. You can go to thrift stores and find great deals. And then pay attention to any glass that comes with products you use. I showed my olives. These are olive jars, large. I believe these are 24 ounces. And I just save these. As the label peels off, I just use them. This is actually almond flour that's stored in this. This is a Hatch green chili jar. I just begin to save these as I use up these products, and I've swapped out almost all of my plastic for simple glass. So it doesn't need to be overwhelming. It doesn't need to break the bank. Time is going to pass anyway. Just do an inventory in your kitchen. What do you already have? And begin to make note. Even put a sticky on the jar. Do not throw away. That way your family and yourself, as you use up these jars, you save them, you clean them out, and you begin to use them for storage. Just start today with these simple kitchen and diet detox hacks. You're going to find that you feel so much better. You might even find that you're losing weight, sleeping better, brain fog is going away, all different types of benefits from lowering the toxic levels in your life in a very simple, manageable way. As I said before, a confused mind says no, and that's why most people never start creating the change that they truly want. So don't beat yourself up, don't make it difficult, just get started today. On the next video, we're going to talk about your personal care products and what's lurking in your bathroom and your shower. Make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss that. Get my guide over at lowertoxiclife.com for some simple recipes and do-it-yourself hacks on personal care products, food storage, recipes, and all of that. I'm Jackie Ulmer, lowertoxiclife.com.